Record. Good morning. Good morning, Carl. How's it going?
It's going very well. How about you, Dr. J?
It is going extremely well. I am so happy to be with you this morning. I know that one thing that I love about the fact that Zoom is here and Facebook is here, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, we can still connect. And so, with that being said, can you tell the listening audience where you are today? Where are you zooming in from, I should
I'm,
say?
I'm zooming in from the sunny state of Clemson, South Carolina.
Oh my goodness. I remember when we met via phone and we were connected and I was like, South Carolina, I have family in South Carolina. In fact, Edgefield, South Carolina. And then our conversation took place after that. It felt like we were family based on that conversation. So can you tell the viewers, you know, what your provide an overview of who you are, and then we'll take it from there.
Outstanding. Yeah, my name is Carl Sharperson, and I'm currently a leadership innovation strategist. I help people go from being mediocre to maximizing their potential by allowing them to unlock the potential that they have in themselves. I do business consulting, executive coaching, strategic planning, team building, some professional recruiting, and I authored my first book about 3 years ago called Sharp Leadership, Overcome Adversity to Lead with Authenticity. I've been married for 35 years. I have two adult children, graduated from the Naval Academy, played sports, was a pilot in the Marine Corps for 5.5 years, worked for 3 Fortune 500 companies, Procter & Gamble, Frito-Lay, Colgate-Palmolive, and then became a vice president of manufacturing for Dunlap Slosinger, making golf balls. And that's what brought me to the great state of South Carolina.
I love it. I love it. You know, I wonder if you still have stocks or in Palmolive and Frito Lay and all those other goodnesses.
I
That's
do not. I
going.
wish I did.
You probably could have racked up, particularly during the quarantine and pandemic. People were ordering snacks and all that other goodness that's going on. So, so Carl, can you share with us? You know, this is a career conversation, career coffee conversations with Dr. J, and I know many would be interested in learning about who you are and learning about your career, the background, because sometimes people see the person here today, but not necessarily know the story about their journey. So can you share what was one of your best leadership lessons you learned during your career?
I think one of my best leadership lessons that I learned was at a very, very early age. Was born in Washington, D.C. At the age of 14. My dad decided to move us to Spotsylvania, Virginia. So in Washington, D.C., which was Chocolate City at the time, everybody looked like me. I moved to Virginia to integrate a school during the same time period as the movie Remember the Titans. And I learned a lot about people. Probably most important life leadership lesson that I've learned is people went from calling me names to be my friend because we got to know each other. So what I learned during that experience was it doesn't make any difference what color you are, what your nationality is, what your economic status is. Everybody wants the same thing. They want to be loved. They want to be respected. and they want to be successful. So that was one of the key lessons that I learned at a very young age, and it served me well as I went to the Naval Academy, where I was the only one in my company that looked like me. In the Marine Corps, all the squadrons that I was in, I was the only one that looked like me. So in at Procter and Gamble and the Fortune 500 companies, a lot of times the same thing. But what I knew was, even if somebody says something to me that's not right, or does something that's not right, I know that they have the problem and I don't have the problem. And I've developed the skills on how to deal with that. I pick my battles, and normally I win whenever I'm very strategic about how I pick my battles.
Yeah, sometimes one thing that I've learned, through education and through life experience as being the only one that's sitting at the table is learning how to balance the your emotions and having, a high emotional intelligence is vitally important that that takes place. So you are absolutely correct. Are there what would you say were maybe your worst career decisions or leadership or a worst career decision that may have led to a leadership lesson?
Yeah, that one is probably the fact that about 11 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a type of cancer. And I was in pretty bad shape. So because I did not manage my money well. In other words, I had assets, but for whatever reason they disappeared, and and it was very very trying on myself, my family, and everything like that. But once you get in that position and you get to a point where you're not strong enough, you're not smart enough, you don't have enough resources financially, then that really causes you to look inward and upward for me and realize how important it is to be connected to something other than yourself. Because all of these physical things and money and finances and resources, they can disappear in a heartbeat. And once they disappear, the most important resource that you have available to you are the relationships that you have created with people. And you can build that stuff up again if you have those relationships.
Absolutely. And you know, I know you've probably heard this before in terms of relationships and looking at it as an investment as well, like a bank, in terms of making those deposits in, right? And not being there constantly to take withdrawals because at the time when you need your network or your friends and your family the most are those times when you hope that they reflect back on all the deposits that you've in the investments that you've made in the relationship. So I'm glad that you made that you chatted about that and through those times. So so we've been, I guess it's been over 2 years now, dealing with what's been going on in the world, which has not been um there's been some sad times, there's been some happy times in terms of the quarantine and in the pandemic. And I wanted to ask you, what have you learned about yourself? Did you pick up a new trade? What have you learned?
Yeah, I'm a firm believer that pandemics and crisis can really uh, cause creativity if you look at it that way. Because some of the best lessons that I've learned and things that I've accomplished have happened because I was in the fire, in the fiery furnace, and got all the impurities burned off. So when the pandemic hit, there's several things that happened to me in my life at the exact same time. One was my wife had back surgery. Well, she was supposed to have back surgery on March of 2020, the same time that everything got shut down. They moved the surgery up or back to June the 9th. So she had back surgery on June the 9th. At the same time, so this is the pandemic, she's having surgery, and people weren't hiring speakers. There wasn't a whole lot of coaching going on. So most of my business, I was just basically kind of not a whole lot going on. So I said, kind of looked at like at what Jesus did when he was when the disciples came to him and said, we don't have any food for these hundreds of people that we have. So Jesus said, well, what are you going to do? Tell me what you have. Give me what you have. So I said, what do I have in this time? I said, I've got at the time about 5,000 people on LinkedIn, about 3,000 people on Facebook. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna start tapping into them. So that's what I did on a daily basis. Every day, I connected with them, built new relationships, planting seeds, waiting for the harvest. Now, the other thing in a crisis or pandemic, and I talk about it in my book, it's called significant emotional events. A significant emotional event is an event that will rock your world. Your life will never be the same. So, in a significant emotional event are things like this: divorce, loss of a loved one, a lot of sickness, loss of job, and those things. Your life is just never the same. So the pandemic was a significant emotional event on steroids because you had all that stuff. And several people that lost loved ones, lost jobs, and lost money at the same time. So one of the things that I think you have to do in a crisis or a pandemic is the first thing you have to do is you have to get your mind right. If your mind is not in a healthy space, then your body's not going to be in a healthy space. So that's the first thing. So how do you do that? You read positive things, you listen to positive things, and you pour that stuff in your head. Scripture, reading the Bible, motivational speeches. Okay, the first thing you do is get your mind right. The second thing I think you have to do is you have to develop a routine. Because one of the things that happens in this pandemic and crisis is your routine is disrupted. So everybody's inside. They're used to going to work. They're used to being around people. You got some people where their kids are coming home, husband and wife are coming home. They're at each other's throat. So I use the example of a baby. Anybody who's had a baby, they know that a baby likes a routine. The baby wants to know what time they get up. The baby wants to know what time to go to bed, what time they're going to eat. Okay. So in the pandemic, if people create a new routine, you end up with a cranky CEO, cranky wife, cranky spouse, cranky student, and that's kind of what happens. Okay. So developing a routine is very, very important. That means what time are you going to get up? What time you're going to go to bed? What time you're going to eat? What other things are you going to do? You're going to work, you're going to exercise, and have that stuff mapped out because your body needs a routine. Okay. And then the last thing I think is to look at what's going on and say, okay, what's the vision now? What are my goals now? Set some goals, develop some strategies, and then develop some action plans so that on a daily basis, you know that everything you do is going to get you closer to that goal or that vision that you have reassessed.
All right, all right. So look, you are speaking magical words to me. Everything you said is like how I like living, right? In terms of having a routine, but also understanding that things can come up, right? Like with the pandemic out of nowhere. And being able to pivot and being resilient and being open to adjust whatever that routine may be. So we all had to do that, right? During this time when it came out of nowhere, and we probably were used to getting up, doing our routine, getting in our cars, driving to a physical location. And then we've had to pivot to say, okay, we're bringing this at home now. We're bringing this to our home. We're at home all the time, right? 24/7, and trying to figure out how to have that routine while also maintaining a balance. So, with everything that you said, how did you make your adjustment and pivot? Like, I know your routine had to change.
Yeah, so my routine, like you said, used to be going to a physical location or something like that. So what I did, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I do some devotions, I used to get ready to go to the gym, right? So the gym shut down, couldn't do that. So what I did was I'd get up and walk. I walk for 2 hours every day. And while I was walking, I would listen to motivational speaking, Miles Monroe,
Yes.
or learn something, or a sermon, and that was powerful. I mean, pouring that stuff into my brain every day for 2 hours. I mean, it just got me going. Then I'd come and I do what I said, which is basically LinkedIn, Facebook, reach out to people that I didn't know, try to have a conversation. I'd have lunch at some point in time, do some more of that, and then shut it down about probably shut it down about 5, eat, spend some time with the family, try to get in bed by 10 and do it again. And that's kind of
Wow.
what my routine was.
Yeah. So I started a route back on my routine of walking in the mornings. And I try to do that in the morning time because it elevates my endorphins, right? Get my brain working. My creativity starts to happen. And I feel like I'm doing something for me, right? Not anyone else, but doing something for me. And so there are days when I don't feel like getting up, and but I make myself get up because I think about the outcome that I desire, right? And it's like medicine to my soul, right? Not only to my body, but also medicine to my soul. And when you said 2 hours, I was like, whoo. I do like maybe 30 minutes to 45 minutes. That's like one day I will be there, right? um, so I'm not yet getting up at 4 a.m., but whew, you have definitely encouraged me. And like yourself, I am listening to inspirational things. I'm listening to, as you said, Miles Monroe, great man of leadership, right? Listening to some of his lessons. And sometimes, it was one I was listening to that one of my colleagues sent to me, and I have to send it to you after the show. And you probably have heard it, and it's talking about um, when God gives you a vision, right? And man may not understand what that vision is, but He gives it to you, and He's there for you. And sometimes you're going to feel like you're walking alone, but you're not alone. And so it's encouraging to listen to great leaders like him, and as well as others, like you said, listening to podcasts and having that balance. For me, I at 4:30, I try to shut it down from my corporate world, right? From my corporate job, and then I pick up a couple of hours from my personal business of reaching within a coaching company. And so I try to not come into my office, and I actually try to stay with a routine. So shifting gears, your book, leadership, your background, leadership, overcome adversity, right? And so I would love for you to talk to us about your book.
Okay, great. Yeah, I wrote it about 3 years ago, and I'd done some training on leadership and speaking and things like that. And one of the things they said was, if you write a book, it'll help give you some credibility with what you're doing. So I had done some doodling and some things like that when I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I had never decided to, it was kind of intimidating to make it flow and have it grammatically correct. So my daughter actually called me and said, Dad, are you serious about your book? And I said, yeah. She says, if you're committed to writing your book, she said, I found a book coach and I'll connect you with that person and pay for the manuscript. So with that, I kind of put it together. But in my book, it talks about my life. It talks about, I'll go over basically the 5 principles in the book. One is, the first one is quitters never win and winners never quit. So I moved from Washington, D.C. to Virginia, went out for football for the first time in the 9th grade, never played tackle football before. My coach, who's the 3rd most influential person in my life, a guy named Coach Sparks, gave a talk I'll never forget. He said, you got your pads today. If you don't want to play, turn them in, no harm, no foul. But if you come back tomorrow, I need you to stay to the end of the season, because quitters never win and winners never quit. He said, if you quit my football team, you might quit school. Quit school and get married, you might quit your spouse. Have kids, you might quit your kids, because once you quit the first time, it's easy to quit the next time. So I developed a mindset that I would never quit. Continued to play my freshman year and didn't have a lot of fun, but fast forward my senior year, I'm the most valuable player of the football team. That never would have happened if I had quit. So I graduated from high school in 71. After the football season, myself and 2 other football players get called to the office. We don't know why. In walks this guy, 6'2", 230 pounds, blue suit, white shirt, blue tie, hot white cover. He says, I'm from the Naval Academy and I want to recruit you to play football. I didn't know what the Naval Academy was. It was only 90 miles up the road, primarily because there weren't a whole lot of people that looked like me that were going there. So I applied, couldn't get in because I was not prepared academically. They offered to send me to a prep school in Harlingen, Texas, got on a plane for the first time and did that. So it talks about that. And I decided to go into the Marine Corps. In the Marine Corps, they tell you when you get there that the attrition rate is 66%, which means only one of three of you that start are going to graduate and get your wings. I looked to the left, looked to the right, said, y'all not going to be here, but I'm going to be here because Coach Park said quitters never win and winners never quit. So that's the first principle in my book that I'll talk about is quitters never win and winners never quit. The second one talks about taking care of your people. Always take care of your people. If you take care of your people will take care of you. In the Marine Corps, when you go to the field or you go to battle, the higher the rank, the later you eat. The lower the rank, the more you eat. It symbolizes you always take care of your people. You make sure they have the food, the bullets and everything that they need because they're going to protect you and take care of you. So, and then you say, okay, Carl, so how does that apply to the civilian world? I'm glad you asked. So if you think about it, let's assume that I'm a supervisor in a manufacturing plant and we make widgets. First scenario is I'm a bad boss. I lie to my people, treat them like dirt. And I give a direct order. The order is I want you to do this. And the quality person knows that if they do that, bad product will go out. So they do what I say, product goes out, it comes back. What are they going to do? Carl told me to do it, throw me right under the bus. Let's assume that I'm a good boss. I take care of my people, know their family members, and I make the same request, except probably a little bit nicer. That person will do one of two things. They'll say, Carl, you probably don't want to do that because of X, Y, and Z. Or even if it gets out and comes back, they'll say it was our problem, not Carl's problem, because they want to keep me around. So always take care of your people. The third principle is always tell the truth. Always tell the truth. That's important because I was a pilot in the Marine Corps, and if my crew chief did not check the oil properly and told me that the oil reservoir was full and it was not, and I went out flying, it could kill me and several other people. So it's always important to tell the truth. In the civilian world, I found myself working for 3 Fortune 500 companies, taking over operations, and it took me about 6 months before I developed credibility because my predecessors had lied, cheated, stolen, and didn't do what they said they were going to do. So telling the truth is so very important in any walk of life. The fourth principle is about relationships. It's all about relationships. When I was diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, at the time I was diagnosed, I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. My face was sunken in, my arms were skinny, my legs were skinny. And not only was I sick, I was broke, So again, that was probably the lowest point in my life. And I said, what am I going to do? Lord, what am I going to do? I said, you know what? I'm going to call on my brother. So I contacted a guy named Keith, who was in my company and also was a fellow Marine of mine. He contacted the president of my Naval Academy Alumni Association, a guy named Kevin, and they put together a GoFundMe program before GoFundMe was even in existence. So my classmates and alumni supported me financially for an entire year, some of which I hadn't seen in 30 plus years. So that's how important relationships are. Nobody gets to where they are without relationships. And the last principle I talk about is faith. Faith, family, and friends. You can't do everything, so it's important that you prioritize. So for me, the most important thing is my faith in God, and then family second, and friends are third. Because if you have those things, if you lose all your physical assets and resources and stuff like that, you can still build them if you do that. But you can have all the money in the world, all the land in the world, but if you don't have relationships with quality people, what good is it? And that's one of the very valuable lessons that I learned in life. So that's some of the key points in the book. There's many. I call it a life-changing book. I call it a manual for overcoming adversity in any environment, in any stage of your life. I've had CEOs read it and use it as a guide for their people. I've had a bunch of veterans read it. I had a 17-year Marine Corps veteran, got out of Marine Corps with post-traumatic stress disorder, became a substance abuser, then became homeless. Now he runs a shelter for homeless veterans. He said it's the first book he ever read from cover to cover in his life. So I call it, it's really a life-changing book. So one of my goals in life now is to get it in the hands of as many people as possible and share those principles.
I'm so glad that you walked us through the book, and a lot of the traits that you mentioned in the book that I heard you and gleaned from your overview is something that I subscribe to. And one is the integrity piece is incredibly important. And integrity is about being your true authentic self, when you're on as a leader, as they say, and when you're off as a leader, because people are watching every day, right? And one of my quotes is that you are interviewing every day, so whether you realize it or not. You've shared with us a great lesson about trust is not necessarily given to you, it has to be earned. And you having to follow the footsteps of a leader. And there are lessons to learn from good leaders and not so good leaders, right? And then the not so good leaders, sometimes there's leftovers that you have to come, and you got to say, okay, we're going to eat these leftovers. We're going to put it in the microwave. We're going to get it prepared. We're going to put that thing in the microwave. We're going to heat it up. We're going to give it a couple of minutes to see if we ready. Sometimes that 2 minutes is not enough. And sometimes we got to put it back in there, especially if you're trying to put that baked potato, right? I'm making an analogy to some food. Put that baked potato back in that microwave, right? And put it on with some more minutes. And what I mean is that, look, um, sometimes sometimes you as a leader get a team that may be half baked, right? They may be harmed. They may have some struggles in terms of trusting and believing in their leader. And so you took the time 6 months and longer to say, I'm here for you. And what you get is a leader who says, you will eat first and I will eat last. So I'm going to serve you this fully baked potato. You tell me what toppings you would like to have on it, right? Would you like to have the sour cream and the butter and some of those bacon bits that go on top? How would you like to be served? Because I'm known as being a servant leader, and it's about the people. And one of my leadership philosophy quotes over the last decades, my philosophy is that people are at the beginning, middle, and end of all processes and decisions. Once you invest in them, they will go above and beyond for the mission. So I have been people focused for over the last several decades. And so I love everything that you talked about, like people first, right? People first. Authenticity with trust. Helping, show your realness to others. Do what you say you're going to do. Walk the talk. And even in your hardest times of adversity, being sick, being diagnosed with, an illness, and being able to have your friends to show up, right? Remember, we talked about at the beginning of the interview, making those investments in your relationships and folks showing up for you. I remember when I was going through my divorce, and I remember having two daughters, 2 weeks to go to my next paycheck, right? And thinking to myself, what am I going to do? But it took my tribe, it took my village, it took those who I invested in, who poured back to me and said, oh, you're going to be okay. We are going to make sure you're okay. Sending me, a check and saying, don't worry about it, right? You got it. Don't worry about paying me back. Knocking on my door and saying, hey, here's a card with something in it for you. And so that's, the value of relationships, oh my God, is incredible. It's incredible. It will pay dividends. It's something that you can't buy with money. And you mentioned that, right? You can have everything, like you said, you can have the land, you can have the money. It's something about those relationships. So that's why I spend my time focused on building memories, creating memories that will last a lifetime. And your time is money, right? Your time is money. So you have to spend your time wisely. So, Carl, how can folks find your book? Because it sounds incredible. I want to be able to read it from cover to cover, as one of your readers said. How can we find the book? How can we find you? How can people like hire you? I want to know. The viewers may want to know.
Yeah, you can really simplistically, you can just Google my name on Google, Carl Sharperson, and several things will pop up. I have a website, which is www.carlsharpersonjr.com. And then that'll link you to my a book that you can order from me, but you can also get it on Amazon. And it's on Kindle on Amazon. So you can get it as quick as you want. And I'd love to talk to you. If you go to my website, and there's some things that I can interest you in with coaching or speaking or team building, there's an intake form. You can send it to me, and I can figure out how I can help you. What I try to do is add value to people. I think based on my experiences and the people that I've been able to interact with and the lessons that I've learned, that I can really help people maximize their potential.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much for spending the time with me. Career Coffee Conversations with Dr. J. I just so happen to have a mug that has J on it today. And it's not coffee. I'm being good. I have water in here. So I look forward to sitting down with great leaders like yourself. And I try to have these coffee conversations at least once a month. It depends on my schedule, but I thoroughly, thoroughly enjoy these conversations. Those who want to reach out to me, you can reach me on my website, which is reachingwithinempowerment.com. And I am super excited that I got to sit down with you. And the language you speak, it runs parallel to what I stand for. And I also have my own inaugural book, which is Overcoming Personal Challenges to Achieve Professional Success. And so I think it's incredibly important that you show up as your real self, your authentic self, and to live your life unapologetically and unashamed and confidently, and to walk boldly. So thank you so much. And with that, the viewers, you'll catch me. You know where to reach Carl. You know how to get his book. And I think you said, is it on your website? Is it on Amazon? Where is it
Yeah,
again?
it's on my website as well as Amazon. Mhm.
Okay.
It is.
Sounds like a winner. All right. So I'm telling y'all know I'm a woman of my word. So as soon as I get off here, I'm going to go to his website and I'm going to order it. And I'm going to show proof underneath my video recording on Facebook. I'm going to show an image that I ordered it. And I hope you all follow suit and purchase this book from this great man. So thanks a lot, Carl, and have an amazing day on purpose. We have cloudiness, overshadowing, overcast here. And hopefully you have a good day golfing today. I think you shared with me before we went on live, you're going to go golfing.
I am. I am.
All right. Take
Thank you for
care.
everything.
You are so welcome. Have a blessed and amazing day on
You have the
purpose.
same.
All right.